Is there anyone who would like to speak before we start?
That's right.
Thank you. Can I have a approval of the minutes of July 16?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Thank you. Where's Mr. Shaw?
It's me. Hang on a second. Let me just
You're
get you.
doing the financial?
I am. Sean is out of town.
Poor Sean. He takes all his children in the car. I know, with all the children. Didn't I do it before? No one wanted to speak.
Good morning,
I'm
everyone. Sean is not with us today, so I will do my best to get you through this without messing it up too bad. No. So just quickly, a summary of where we are. Beginning cash, $4.7 million. You can see what we call significant to us cash receipts of $11,000 and $3,200. Disbursements of $28,000 and then about $28,000 and then roughly $7,000, both to Kimley Horn. For basically industrial park, what we're calling industrial park engineering fees, corporate landing stormwater plan. Two things that are going on. One, you'll remember that we are working through improving the tier rating on all of our corporate sites. That's what the first of those refers to. The second relates to improving and increasing the stormwater capacity within corporate landing so that we can continue development of the park. Ending cash of just less than $4.7 million. There we go. As it relates to our incentive account summary, specifically our DIP program, $2.5 million beginning cash, ending cash $4.8 million. A quick breakdown of what's in there. $573 worth of interest that we earned. It's not much, but hey, it's something. And then most importantly, a $2.3 million transfer from the prior budget for basically biofunding. And that's important, particularly when David comes up and talks about some coming initiatives. We have some very exciting news in the biospace, specifically not to jump ahead of David, but just the fact that we're finally at a jumping off point and a place where we're going to see real progress, particularly as it relates to our challenge winner. So this money will be real important in just a moment. But then also disbursements of $21,000, $18,000, and then just less than $5,000. Again, all around known projects and expenditures that you've been briefed on. Ending cash held by the authority of $4.8 million. Adding in EDIP and other receivables of $10.4, less our payables and commitments, $11.4. Our ending cash of $3.8 million. Just a quick summary of where we are. Those of you that have been on the authority for a while will know that we've made fairly large awards that are coming due over the past few years. And so not to say that we're cash in, cash out, but effectively that is where we are in the authority right now, which is it's not a bad place for us to be. It means that our economy is vibrant and growing and that we're seeing demand for the resources that you all allocate and that it's working. So actually a positive trend there. Madam Chair, if you'll allow me, I'll continue. I'll take questions on that and then I'll jump into the audit.
Questions? Thank you.
Great. A quick summary on the audit. As you all know, we audit every year. It's due by September 30th. It's in progress. The auditors have been here. They spent about just less than a week. It was 3 days they spent with us 2 weeks ago. They basically have, I think, completed their compilation or doing their review now and will be back to us with questions before the end of the month. I want to recognize our finance director, Alice Kelly, who's with us today. Alice's staff has been a real help to us, specifically Miriam Woodson. Spent about half a day with our accountant here on Friday. Alice, just want to thank you and your team for the support and helping us through our audit.
Okay, the next is the dome site, Mr. Stiles.
Excuse me.
Thank you, sir.
Wasn't
I
in my
appreciate
seat.
it.
I apologize.
I'm sorry.
This is a request to authorize use of authority funds to pay ongoing legal bills associated with the authorities and the city's dome site project. The fees to date have been paid out of a CIP, and we're looking for a sort of an ongoing source. It'll be a couple $100,000 over the next several months, but that's where we are. Traditionally, when the authority has fronted these fees, we will pay you back when bonds are issued, or actually when you issue bonds, you just add that amount as one of your costs and
Thank you.
pay yourselves back.
Questions? A vote?
These are fees associated with writing the development agreements.
I abstain. I own a piece of property in the vicinity.
Okay, thank you. Have a motion?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Taylor. Who's second?
Mr. Strange.
The next is a request for approval of a resolution authorizing an interest-free loan of $250,000 to the Green Run American National Little League. Mr. Stiles, would you please explain that to people that aren't familiar?
I would be happy to. This was $250,000 was appropriated by City Council to the authority for the purpose of sprucing up this facility. It's actually on city-owned property that is leased to this organization. The monies would be provided for limited purposes of, I think it's utilities and parking and restrooms. So it's for betterments to the facility. Would be secured by a note and a deed of trust, and you'd be paid back over a term of 10 years.
Thank you. Hear a motion? Any questions for?
I'm going to abstain, I understand they.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you. Hear a motion, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Who was the second there?
Was
Bill
Lisa?
Bronke.
Okay, Bill Bronke, okay.
Bill Brunke was.
Request for approval of a resolution authorizing $140,000 grant to Global Links. Mr. Adams.
Similar to what Mr. Stiles just mentioned, this is money that's been appropriated by City Council for this purpose. It's been passed to us, and we've been asked to basically pass it through to the developer. The one thing that we would put our traditional terms around this and basically demonstrate that we were ensure that we were performance based in the payout of this, but we believe this is appropriate to move forward with.
Thank you. Any questions? Can I hear a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Let's see, the next is request approval of site plan, elevation, and design for Global Links Corporate Center. Mr. Cowell.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the authority. Real quick, just to piggyback on what Taylor said, we have another iteration for Global Links Phase 2, and I'd like to recognize Mr. Greg Twitt in the back of the room with Global Links as well. Maybe some quick comments after we're done here. What's happening here is they have a second phase adding on to their existing facility in Corporate Landing. Just a quick snapshot of where that site is. And here's just a quick, site plan showing where the second phase is. It's almost 23,000 square feet expansion on a little over 10,000 square foot Phase 1 building. And what we've done is we've taken their plans, design, landscape, and whatnot, and have reviewed them with our engineering services contract, or our contract engineer services group, and they have gone through this, and this site plan meets our criteria. I would just mention that there's one iteration we might want to address as they come back with their final construction drawings, is looking at a screening wall for the generators on the north side. Just another snapshot of where Phase 2 is within the site. And here is the proposed landscape plan associated with it. And you can see it offers some additional screening with the vegetation. And I do want to mention on the back side of the facility, there is a 10-foot berm being proposed to help with additional screening as well. And just some elevations of what the materials and the finished building would look like. And Letitia has some samples right here that we can show for the building. The lighter color is the concrete sample, and the darker color is the brick sample. Samples of the glass are over here as well. And some of the metal framing around some of the finishes as well. So these are over here for you to look at later if you would like. With that, we came to where we approved the initial concept and what their design criteria is right now. This is the initial phase, so they can move on to construction drawings, and they'll come back at a later date with their final finishes. So,
Thank you.
I have a
Lisa?
question. So the letter from the engineers, Kinley Horn, indicates that, there is no screen wall, like you said, on the northern side of the generators in this location. Is that a requirement that they will need to meet?
yes, we've had some conversations this morning, and they're willing to do that when they come back with the final construction drawings.
Okay, so then the drawings that we'll see will have screening around all the generators.
Correct. Yeah, can you go back real quick? Please. One more. One more. So we're talking about right along here between the two buildings. That'll visually screen and also help with some of the noise associated with it as well. Other than that, it meets all other design criteria associated with the covenants restrictions with purple.
Thank you. Hear a motion, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Twitty, would you like to say anything, or we're happy to have you here today?
Oh, thank you. It's been a long run to get to where we are, but we're happy we're here, and thank you very much to all concerned in helping us with this project. It's an important thing for the city in terms of we are the first data center beside the Cable Landing Station. As you know, it's Maria and Bruce at the two subsea cables, and we've got a third one coming in, which is the Denham cable from Google. It's expected here by, I think, third quarter of next year. So we're preparing for a lot of activity in that region in terms of carriers, which is Cox, Verizon, AT&T, etc. All the carriers will be coming into our facility. In fact, they've just started. We've got 3 carriers in there already, and a couple of co-location customers. So it's all happening, which is great. It's a good kick-off for the corporate learning data center part.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for helping.
Thank you. Okay, request for approval of terms for sale of London Bridge Commerce Center. Mr. Adams.
So, thank you, Madam Chair. This is the first of sort of back-to-back presentations I'll make here, just on updates to where we are in RFPs that you all have sort of advertised in the public today. Before I jump into this, I'd like to thank Mr. Soleil and Ms. Murphy for their assistance in evaluating the RFPs and in helping us advance the conversation to this point. This is London Bridge Commerce Center. You all, just for orientation, you'll see this is basically the corner of London Bridge and fronts 264. It's just less than 18 and a quarter acres. It's in the APZ1, currently zoned I-1. It's currently owned by the City of Virginia Beach. However, there is council action that's already approved transfer to this body. They're mentioning APZ1. There are Navy restrictive easements in place, and I'll just show you. You'll see that there's a parcel sort of has an odd shape, and in addition to APZ1, you can see this line here. The reason that is sort of diagonally cut off there is that's where the clear zone is. The runway sits. The end of the runway sits about right here. There's the Navy owns all of the land sort of to the east and south of us. Here you can see a delineation of the clear zone, how that impacts the parcel. One of the things that you all have heard about is a proposed road coming in from the south. This is the current layout. However, just important to note that this is conceptual, but this road was listed as a future project that is a funded CIP in the RFP. So we thought it was appropriate to show the current alignment. Want to thank Kimberly Horn for working with us. This is the third alignment of this, but this alignment allows for, we believe, the best point to access the parcel based on the first and future phases of development in the area. There we go. A quick delineation of APZ1 and what matter and why that's important to this solicitation. So what you can see, APZ1 outside of the clear zone, we don't develop in the clear zone. So APZ1 is our most restrictive area of development, particularly for commercial projects. And so you can see on the clear zone, basically it's a no for everything on manufacturing, but there are some yeses for those specific uses within APZ1 for as it relates to our use. Carrying on down, also transportation, communication, and then wholesale trade, retail trade, things of that nature. So, London Bridge Development LLC, Bill Terry and Bill Steff, the primaries in that, and basically in this submittal. They have proposed between 180 and 260,000 square feet of new commercial space spread across between 5 and 10 buildings, with tenants that in conformity to Navy restrictions. They have their offer for the land was $1.8 million. Purchaser agreed to a prohibition on outdoor storage and agreed to an improved facade on 264, and I'll tell you why that's important. The improved facade on 264 was something that our evaluation team asked for, understanding that we're fronting the interstate, and this is really this is our last large parcel on the interstate, and we just think it's important that the views from 264 are as good as they can be, recognizing we're talking about industrial space. As it relates to the prohibition on outdoor storage, the second proposal that we received was specifically for outdoor storage, and it was for a higher amount. So this proposal was for $1.8 million. The second one was for 2.0 million. And so the issue though was the one was purely outdoor storage, and so basically RVs and boats. And so if you move forward and look at land use, clearly the 180,000, in a worst case scenario, the 180,000 square feet of industrial space represents a higher and better use for the taxpayer, and so we move forward with this parcel even at the lower value. That said, we thought it was important to exclude the potential use for which you received a higher number. So the developer agreed to a prohibition as part of our term sheet on outdoor storage, which will carry through to the development agreement. A summary of where we are today: City Council voted to convey this property to the Development Authority in February of 15. This, of course, presented to you all last month. OLUC met, approved, and recommended approval of this motion or of this item on August 5th. And so what we are asking for today is approval of the terms as they are today, and your basically approval to complete negotiation of a development agreement. There are a few outstanding points that we need to work through here, notably the phasing of development, potential reversion in the future, I think I don't want to get ahead of our attorneys, but we would like to see a little more definition on exactly what approvals we will see for each phase of development, ensuring that Navy restrictions are met at every stage of the project. So we're in a great place on this one. The developer's been great to work with, but with that, we would ask for approval of non-binding terms to complete a development agreement, hopefully that we can bring to you at your next meeting.
Questions? Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The next one is, that's Uter Gaten Taylor for the
Yep.
corporate lending management system.
So so I don't really have as many pictures for this one. This is just this is a conduit management this is the conduit management system that we've been building within Corporate Landing that is complete. Again, I want to recognize Mr. Twitt, who's here with us today, because this one refers directly to him as well. I will say, as it relates to data uses in our park, this is an exciting meeting for us because we're seeing sort of a confluence of events that are really getting us to a stepping off point. Before I dive into this RFP, you'll remember the conduit management system and specifically the way that it ties into a carrier-neutral hotel are an integral piece of the future data development within our park. I don't want to steal Mr. Twitt's example, but I will for just a moment. I've heard him say that we're like a city on an interstate without an off ramp, and I think that's absolutely true. And so, what we're trying to do here is create a situation where we can capture some of the bandwidth that's coming out of the subsea cables that are arriving at the Telsius landing station, and then use them and distribute them within our own park for our basically for data center build out in Corporate Landing and in the adjacent areas. So, as you all know, we built a duct bank system. It's about 10,000 linear feet of 8 4-inch conduits on both sides of Corporate Landing. Construction is complete. We ran an RFP. We received 2 proposals. One was from Mr. Twitt's company, Global Links. The second was from Interglobix, a company based north of here. Thanks again to Mr. Slay and Ms. Murphy for working through this RFP with me. And then also, I'd like to extend thanks to the city's IT group, because quite frankly, I'm not an IT guy and not qualified to really work through these on my own. I will tell you, IT guys have the neatest names for things. Like, who else would come up with something called a meet me room? I don't know, only IT folks. But it's important to note what we're trying to get to here is we're trying to tie into, honest to goodness, the industry term is a meet me room, so that we can distribute cable, or basically distribute signal out of the Global Links facility here. It's a 5-year term, but we're asking for the ability to renew for 5. You can see we'll work through those. Global Links has the right to put individual users in the park, charge user fees. You can see some blanks here. Again, we're talking about a term sheet. This is another term sheet that we are looking to advance to a development agreement, and we are asking for your approval to complete that. We've defined what is a capital expenditure within this, and that aligns with similar facilities like the sports center that we've recently done. So the idea is to be in conformance with other city projects that we've done. Standard stuff below that $10,000 capital threshold. We're expecting that Global Links is handling that. The management fee, this is one thing to note. This is the piece that we are still working through. And Mr. Twitt's aware that he's in the room here today, but this is just the one thing that we would say there, where we have a sketch of how this will work out. This is the piece that we need to complete, the major outlying piece that we need to complete ahead of presenting the development agreement. We're maintaining title. Performance standards are conformity to basically Public Works and IT existing spec for the city. If you come on down, we're looking for 24/7 monitoring, leasing, and I understand that this is fairly dry content, but like I say, call this our effort to be as transparent as we possibly can be as to where the project is right now. Global Links is responsible for leasing, and I understand he has clients that are waiting to get into this, waiting to get into the system right now. Global Links will provide detailed accounting information that is consistent with other contracts that we have, as well as the city's audit clause, and then we're going to maintain insurance on the bank, Global Links, general commercial liability, and workers' comp on their employees. It's a fairly standard stuff here. Like I say, the big piece that's outstanding is the need to finish the management fee and then hone in on what is the final schedule for user fees. Basically, what we'll be charging to tie in. It's important that you all know the tie-in, the charge to get into the system is how we recover our investment. So that there's little bit of final negotiation left to be done on that. But once that's done, we'd like to move forward. And so we're asking for your approval of these terms. It's an exciting day for us. And with also your approval to carry forward, complete the development agreement.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Who was the second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Mr. Twit, thank you for coming today. We're looking forward to having a very successful venture with you.
Thank you for having.
Okay, the next one I'm so excited about. As you know, Virginia Beach Bio. This is going to put us on the map.
Good morning again, everybody. Real quick, this is just going to be a quick overview of the bioaccelerator space.
Thank you.
The disclosure, we're working with Olympia Development, Cecil Cutchins and Chip Cutchins. Their accounting firm is BDO. Their financing is Principal Global Investors. Their legal is Les Watson with Wolcott Rivers and Gates. As you know, as most of you folks know, in 2014, we started an initiative for the bioindustry sector, and with that, we had a task force of 43 folks that came along, various stakeholders in the bioindustry sector, including ODU, LifeNet Health, EVMS, Centera, and many others. The net that we cast went from here all the way up to Charlottesville, and this is one of the first bio-initiatives of its kind for a locality in the country, and we've had a lot of good positive traction. So with that, since 2014, what we found out what we would be good at is offering an accelerator space, and the family of brands under the Virginia Vibe Beach Bio is the Accelerator, the Innovation Park, and also the Innovation Challenge. Of these three things, we've just completed the Innovation Challenge earlier in the spring, and the Innovation Park is now underway. We have a road CIP project, which is kicking off in early September, and also the accelerator space, which we're talking to you about today. We feel that the accelerator space is critical for the small companies and R&D companies that we've been working with. Also, too, it's important for the graduates of the Bio Challenge. The space itself will offer office space, wet lab space. We also have a virtual accelerator space model, which we've been working through, which we think will be very beneficial as well. And we've also had a variety of other bio prospects we've been talking to for a number of years that have an interest in the accelerator space. And it's a little bit of a pin-up market where there's not a whole lot of lab space available in the state of Virginia, so we feel this is a good offering. So through that process, we selected Convergence 2, which is close here to Town Center. And what that does, it creates a lot of energy, and there's a lot of amenities in the market, and that's good for these quasi-millennial biotech companies, and we felt that was a good opportunity for us. So with that, we are here today to pursue a lease, and that would be at 277 Bendix Road, Suite 550 in Convergence 2 on the 5th floor, which is not too terribly far away from here. It'll be 5,700 square feet of lab space. We're looking at a 5-year lease with 5 one-year extensions associated with that, and it can be subleased to an operator, which we'll be talking about here in a minute. Lease rates will be $21 a square foot, triple net, and we also anticipate some other additional operating costs, about $7.50, $8 a square foot, as we look to move forward with that. And that'll cover such things as taxes, insurance, repairs, electricity, and whatnot. And we have an annualized budget of about $164,000 associated with that. And we will be talking about in the next presentation about an operator which we've been working with, which we hope we can select. So we're here today to request of the authority to allow the chair to enter into a lease agreement for the bioaccelerator space to help further our bio initiative. And we feel it's very important to do that, to further the bio initiative we have. And we'll also be working with an operator on a separate basis to actually run it on a day-to-day basis. Be glad to try to answer any questions.
Oh.
And Madam Chair, may I be recognized? This is just, I had a question from an authority member last night, and just first, thank you, David.
Sure.
One thing to mention here, this is the space where we will house the Bio Challenge winners. Important to note that we do anticipate that we will recover a significant portion of the revenue that we'll expend on the lease. Now, there will be other there'll be other pieces of this that represent sunk costs for us that Dave's going to talk about in just a second. But we do anticipate that our challenge winners will be paying rent for space in this facility. We've presented a number in or around $18 a foot to this body all the way through, and so we anticipate that that's where we land as a starting point.
Correct. Correct.
It's such an exciting project. Rosemary and I met the winners. Do you remember what the one that excited us the most?
Well, there were so many.
I
like
know.
the,
International.
Yeah, the machine that comes, the CT scan machine that comes right up next to the bed, where they can scan somebody right there rather than having to get up and move, and then,
Just
you know,
amazing.
the things with the knee replacements and
Yeah.
just lots of innovative ideas. And they're coming here.
And they'll put us on the map.
And it's important that a number of them have already had successful capital raises. We're excited to get these folks up and running.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Lisa, I'm sorry.
I just have two quick questions. Tenant improvements, so I know when we talked about doing a standalone building, there was a certain amount of TI required because this was gonna be lab space.
Right.
Is that,
You'll see that in the next presentation.
gotcha, okay. And then is there the ability to get expansion space either right of first
We have a
refusal?
good relationship with them, and as the space needs grow, there could be some potential opportunities to expand within the building or the complex itself. So we're having ongoing conversations about that opportunity.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? One day, this will be Virginia Beach's trademark, when they come up with a new way of curing cancer, and they will. Anyone else? Hear a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The next one.
Okay. All right, so the next one is symbiotic with the one you just did. This is the operator component. This actually encompasses 3 separate agreements to work with this potential operator. What we're gonna do is I'll walk through the 3, but we're only asking for the first of the 3 today. So I just want to be clear before I get started. We're talking, the company we're talking to is a company called Facility Logics, and working primarily with Pat Larrabee and Lynn Cooper, who's the president and also project manager associated with the company. As I mentioned, there are 3 separate agreements associated with working with this operator. One is the planning and consultation agreement, which we're talking about specifically for approval today. The second is the architectural, engineering, construction, and equipment purchase within the space, and then the ongoing operation of the space once it's actually built out and equipped. So the first one is a consultation fee to assist us with planning and programming and whatnot. And that is a flat fee of $76,000, $300 for the seven months. We anticipate needing that service. And as I mentioned, it's planning, programming, lease and fit up of the biospace, and also space design. And we will execute an agreement. This will be concurrent, hopefully today, with the actual lease agreement, which we will enter into. And we'll also have some potential straight pass-through costs for travel and incidentals of about $12,000. And they estimate the space that they'll be done with that process in approximately 10 months, but we're trying to get it on a faster timeline, usually by 5 to 6 months, just to meet our needs. On the second one, this is the architectural construction design of the actual space and also the equipment fit up. They will act as our contractor on the design of the space, construction of the space, handle all those processes and costs for us. Once it's designed, constructed, and built, then they will also contract with various medical device manufacturers to actually equip the space out for the actual stuff that's needed. We've already put them in contact just for a swag of what would be needed with the BioChallenge winners. And those challenge winners, we had a survey done, and they kind of gave us some feedback on the type of equipment they would like to see in the space. So Pat and her team are aware of what kind of things we're looking for within it. And they would procure those things for us. So to answer your question about the build-out costs, we have a rough budget, which we're still working through. And you'll see the aggregate cost there is almost $1.7 million. That one, and it's primarily the design and construction component of it. It's probably about 2/3 of the cost. And the rest of it is the actually equipping out of the building or of the space with the desired biomedical equipment we need to operate on a daily basis. The third agreement is an ongoing management agreement. That means they would manage the ongoing operations of the accelerator on our behalf, and they would be the day-to-day operational person on site. There were also a virtual model, which we found to be very beneficial, where you can be a member of the accelerator but not actually physically be there every single day. But it can be available to you if you're in town, if you have meetings, you can use a conference room. And as Taylor said, like the Meet Me space, it's kind of like that. We've had a lot of international prospects that have an interest in having a U.S. presence, but not actually physically being in the U.S., or a West Coast company that wants to have an East Coast presence, but not physically be here, but maybe travels here once in a while. So we're going to offer that model as well. We'll have a person on site managing it in a part-time capacity on the front end until it gets ramped up, and that'll transition to a full-time person as it moves forward. And this cost has not yet been identified. We just received the last two agreements late last week, so Alex and I had a conversation yesterday, and we'll work through those before we come back to you next month. So that cost has not yet been identified. So with that, I failed to put a recommendation slide in, but with that, we're asking today for your approval of the first of the three agreements so we can work with the consultation of the design of the space. And that's where we are. I'd be glad to try to answer any questions.
Questions? If someone comes up with a new cure, let's say for malaria, does the city have any portion of that? I know in Norfolk at ODU, the man that came up with the cure for melanoma, he told me that ODU will get a portion of it. So we will,
So I can tell you,
thank you.
there was a future revenue sharing option in the initial contracts that came out of our bio accelerator. I don't know that we'll have the opportunity to have ownership interests in anyone participating in our lab outside of a challenge that we might run, simply because that's a known provider that exists, that is bringing us, basically that is just renting space from us. That said, we can look at it. I think it's unlikely outside of the challenge winners, though.
Thank you. Questions? Motion, please. And I'll speak at once. Second? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you so much.
Who was the second on that one?
Thank you.
Okay, and the next one. Thank you very much, David. Okay, a request for approval of a resolution authorizing an award of $25,000, Part A, for POSH. Mr. Smith.
Madam Chair, good morning, and authority members. Before I get started, I'd like to acknowledge Grant Morrison, the CEO of MAP Communications, and Grant Sibley. I stand before you to present POSH. They're a subsidiary of MAP Communications. These are the disclosures in front of us here. Colliers is a broker, legal services, Wilcox and Savage, accounting, KPMG, and property owner, Olympia Development. Here's a project summary. They're going in the Convergence building. Again, they're a subsidiary of MAP Communications, which has 29 locations throughout the country. They're a virtual receptionist organization. They're going to take down total square feet of 5,000 with the FF&E cost of $150,000. They're hiring 60 FTEs, full-time employees, with a starting salary of $36,400. We were fortunate enough to work with the Hampton Roads Workforce Council, and this is the portion that they're going to support with this offering for POSH, on-the-job training program, incumbent workforce training program, customized training, and recruiting assistance. The request I have before you, that we have before you, is to approve for $25,000. This is based on 60 FTEs with an average salary of $36,400. And I believe there's a question from an authority member that I think Taylor's going to address now before we take any additional
Bill,
questions.
You had a question, I think?
And so, yes, one thing to note, this is a new startup division of MAP. Company's chartered in Delaware. So a question came through regarding registration with the State Corporation Commission. What we learned just this morning is that process is underway. We would ask that you would make this approval contingent on completion of that.
Thank you.
And this has happened in the past, and we just withhold any payment unless and until the entity registers in Virginia.
Thank you.
And, Madam Chair, I'm going to abstain from the vote on this, although I don't personally do any work for this company, my firm does, so I will not be voting on this item.
Thank you. Your motion, please. Thank you. Second.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. This,
Want to thank the authority and the city for this assistance. It's great. Another Australian accent. Without defence, we've been in Tidewater for 28 years, so
that's not very
albeit in
long.
the competitive area of Chesapeake.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
We appreciate it. This is the Winterberry and Princess Anne Road, request for approval of EDIP Part D, appraisal of property. Hi, thank you, Charlie.
Good morning, Madam Chairman. This is based on all the good work that we've heard this morning in two of these locations, in the Bio Innovation Park and in Corporate Landing. Staff has recommended to the authority a request for approval for a current valuation appraisal work on two pieces of property. One, as you can see in the Corporate Landing Park, the area in red, 14 plus or minus acres, is an area that we believe is going to gain in momentum in terms of interest and potential purchase, given all of the other activity that's occurring in that particular area. And the next slide. The other piece of property is in the vicinity of that star where Winterberry Lane Extended is coming into the Bio Innovation Park. There too, given all of the activity that Mr. Couch had explained earlier, that property is of significant interest and ongoing inquiry by a number of parties that we believe will come to a potential opportunity for the city of Virginia Beach at some point in time. So we really need a current valuation of these properties in order to go forward with substantive conversations with potential prospect pool.
Thank you.
Two quick things. If you
Yes,
can.
sir.
First, always nice to see,
is,
just
thank
recognize
you.
one of our new employees who's presenting to the authority for the first time. So Charlie, it's nice to see you up there at the lectern.
Thank you very much.
And two quick things on this. In the first parcel, you all will remember we recently rezoned that 14 acres from I-1 to B2. We think that the B2 zoning and its frontage on General Booth, particularly there at the corner of General Booth and Corporate Landing, establish a different land value than we would see on an industrial parcel. With the second one, exciting stuff, which was sort of part of my director's report, but we're finally at notice to proceed on construction of that road, the darker portion of the road there, and the BMP to carry the first 58 acres of the park. Again, we actually have an appraisal of that sort of yellow star from 2015, but that's before any of this infrastructure existed. We need a clean number on that appraisal, taking into account all of the improvements that we're making to the area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And this would be EDIP funds, Part D specifically contemplates studies and appraisals and that sort of
Thank
thing.
you. Any other comments? Hear a motion, please.
So moved.
Oh, good. Second. Thank you all. Lisa,
Yes, sir. Yes,
It was
sir.
a
I'm
tie.
sorry.
Tie.
I like having them. Every time I go to Pungor, the city, don't I go by Winterberry on a Holland
That's
Road?
right. Well, yes, you do.
Is that this, does it cut all the way through?
So Winterberry runs from Princess Anne to Holland Road. Yes, it does.
Okay. I just think about you every time I go to the city.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the priorities, please. I wanted to ask you to do me a favor. Every time I go to a new store, like Wegmans or Whole Foods, I talk to the manager and thank them for coming to Virginia Beach. And they tell me no one ever thanks them. So when you go into a store or anything, please thank them. Maybe it'll make more people come. Okay, we have something else, I guess.
We do. We have a resolution right there.
Oh, we're gonna miss him.
We are. So,
Where's the resolution?
right there.
Okay. Okay. Whereas, do you want me to read it?
Please.
Okay, whereas the Virginia Beach Development Authority of the City of Virginia Beach was created to serve certain purposes, among which are those promoting industry and developing trade by inducing manufacturing, industrial, governmental, and commercial enterprises to locate or remain in the Commonwealth of Virginia, by assisting in the acquisition, construction, equipment, enlargement, improvement of commercial facilities. And whereas Brian Cuffey was appointed to the authority on September 1st, 2011, and served for 8 years with distinction until August 31st, 2019. Whereas Michael Levin, excuse me, we'll get you another one. My fault. Okay, may I give him?
That sums it all up right there.
Brian, I'm sorry. This is all about you. Would
It
you come
is.
up?
This is
We will get you a. We're gonna miss you, and we want you to hang this proudly in your office.
I will. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And his replacement is here today, or can never replace him. Would you like to stand up and be recognized at the same time? She will be joining us next week. Would you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Neka Chiazor. My last name is pronounced Chiazor, like Chia Pet with a Zor at the end. I'm the Regional Vice President of Public and Government Affairs for Cox Communications for Virginia and North Carolina. And I live in the beautiful city of Virginia Beach, very far from here, actually 2 blocks away.
Weston.
And I'm honored to have the privilege of being able to serve on the board, and I look forward to supporting you and supporting everyone in the city starting September 1st. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We're gonna miss you, Brian. Yeah. I met you when you first came here and your beautiful children. What? What do you think? We will have I'll bring it to you. Your resolution.
And actually, we might be able to fix that resolution right now. I think. Can we send somebody to knock that out?
We can do it. I can take it.
So, quickly, and first, apologies on that. That's a, believe it or not, we had 3 different people read that and we all missed that one thing. And so that just, my fault, 100% my fault, and so apologize for that.
It's not that big of a deal. We'll get it through.
But no, thank you so much for your service. Also, I was gonna recognize NECA as well.
Why
So,
didn't you do
yeah,
that?
but so glad that you were joining us specifically because something that some of you may or may not know. NECA's already been engaged with staff. Some of her work at Cox, specifically in the small business space, has been a huge resource for us already, and so we're delighted that she's joining the authority as well, and looking forward to, on behalf of staff, really looking forward to working with you over the course of your terms. I think you all have heard me talk enough today, so I'll just mention one more thing on. At your next meeting, we'll have another new employee to introduce. We have a project manager who's going to start on September 12th. Isan Malak is her name. We're very excited she's joining us. 20 years experience as a professional engineer and project manager. Extensive experience also with planning departments. We think that she's going to be a great advocate for our clients, for businesses in our community as it relates to getting work done going forward. Also, as you all know, we're pretty bullish on recruiting in Europe right now, and so we're fortunate to have Olivia, who is our native Spanish speaker, on the staff. But what's great is Isan brings with her also fluency in Arabic and French, and so again, continuing to round out not just sort of the professional capacity within the office, but also our ability to make sure that we're meeting the needs of basically companies wherever we're recruiting. So an exciting addition to the staff. Really glad to have her. And that's all I have, Madam Chair.
And with Nick comes her mother when she's here. Her mother is head of the ports for Nigeria. Wonderful lady, and she's working with our port on a big conference you're having. Okay, anything, okay. I don't have the closed session thing.
Oh, get a closed session call.
No. No. Anyway, the chair calls a closed session for the purpose, and I'll just try to do it, right? Is this all right?
That's it.
Where? I'm sorry, that's it. The chair will entertain a motion to recess into closed session pursuant to the exemptions from open meeting allowed by 2.23711 Code of Virginia as amended for the following purposes. Discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose, or and the disposition of publicly held real property, or discussion in open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position of the public body pursuant to 2.2-3711 prospective business or industry. Discussion concerning a prospective business or industry or the expansion of industry where no previous announcement has been made of the business or industry's interest in locating or expanding its facilities in the community pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A5. Discussion of the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders and discussions of the terms or scope of such contract, where discussion in open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A3. Your motion, please. Second. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you hear it? I didn't hear it. Oh, Charlie, and who else? And Mr. Stan.
Thanks.
I'm gonna call for it, please.
The ones that I know are not here, do I call their name?
Well,
No.
it
No,
doesn't-
no, no,
no.
just,
William Brunke,
Yes.
Brian Cuffey,
Yes.
Taylor Franklin,
Yes.
Peter Mueller,
Yes.
Lisa Murphy,
Yes.
Charles Saleh,
Yes.
Joe Strange.
Yes.
Dot Wood.
Yes. Everything shut? What?
The camera's on, are we gonna speak?
Yeah. All right. If you guys will let us know
well,
when the cameras are off.
they turn it off. They turn it
Yeah.
off.
Your camera's off, right, sir?
No, they're not off.